Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon to get the latest updates.
So I have a question for you, or maybe a poser. India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, very populous countries. Add Nepal, even add Sri Lanka, although I would have said keep contiguous countries, but even keep Sri Lanka. You add all that, you come to a population base of about 180 crores, a little more, not a little less. That is about 22%, 23% of global population. Almost a fourth of humanity. So almost a fourth of humanity, very poor people, very poor health infrastructure. Sri Lanka is a bit better than the rest, but still very poor health infrastructure by global standards. Yet all of these, one-fourth of the humanity accounts for less than 25,000 cases of coronavirus so far, and also for less than 1,000 deaths. Now it can change dramatically. I hope not, God forbid, but it can change dramatically, and that might just be a case of the subcontinent being 3 weeks or 4 weeks behind the Western world. I don't know, but a lot of time has now passed, so this data should be looked at. And this is something that even the Hindu today, story done by Suhasini Haidar, they took into account that is the subcontinent an outlier in the world. Now there can be any reason for it. It can be the weather. It's much hotter now. Already you can see I'm sweating, and this is April. It can be our history of BCG immunization, although many scientists say, many tuberculosis scientists say that unlikely that immunity will sustain for such a long time. It could be because in our childhood we had a lot of hydroxychloroquine, and many in adulthood also. People like us, when we were children in small town schools, government schools, every few months some inspector would come and randomly tell all of you to pop chloroquine pills, because India was a highly malarial country and there was the National Malaria Eradication Program, NMEP. So our houses were sprayed with DDT, and we were given chloroquine pills to pop. So maybe there is some residual effect. These are all speculations. So let's not speculate. I think scientists have to look at what is the reason, but there has to be a reason why about one-fourth of humanity accounts for less cases and less deaths that America is probably notching up in a day now. So it's a very important data point to look at. Now look at this also in terms of some other data. See Shamika Ravi's data. We've shared it with you before. 2 graphics, 3 graphics you will see. Now these graphics tell you that today, as of yesterday, and this is as of yesterday afternoon, not yesterday late evening at 9 p.m, by which time ICMR had upped the numbers a little bit more than usual. In fact, considerably more than usual. But this shows that over the past 5 days, India's numbers are rising at 6.6% per day, which means India's numbers will double every 11 days. Now, I know that many of you will say that no, they've been rising faster. It's true, but it's only the last 5 days. If you start from day 1, from the day the disease was discovered, India's numbers have been rising 13%, 13.3% per day on a compounded basis. That if now is rising at 6.6, the rate of rise percentage terms is a half of before. In absolute terms, it's obviously higher because the base has gone up, and because the base has gone up, your data also becomes more reliable than before, because on a small base, statistics mean less. On a higher base, statistics are more substantive. Once again, you can see that there is a difference, that Indian numbers are not rising as fast as before. But then turn around again and see the data put out by Amitabh Kant, who's the CEO of Niti Aayog, and it's a Niti Aayog study. I mean, of course, you can always say government is lying, government always lies, Modi government lies. That's your choice. I'm not buying into that. I do not believe that everybody who does research or a study lies. Plus, all this data is verifiable, and a lot of this data is not even about India. So if you look at the tweets that he has put out based on that study, and you can read the entire study also, I'm sharing the data with you. In India, we have 4.1 to 4.7% positivity rate. That means if we test 100 people, just about 4 will come out positive, or if we test 1,000 people, then maybe anything from 41 to 47 people will turn out positive. Now that the base is high, you can calculate on our entire base, the positivity rate is 4.4%. In fact, that's what Dr. Raman Ganga Khedkar, chief epidemiologist at ICMR, keeps saying that, look, don't go by how many are we testing and all. See our positivity rate. Our positivity rate is the same. That means it is not spreading in the larger population, and we are only testing highly suspect cases. Now, see the data that Niti Aayog has put out, and this is not the data anybody can create. In India, 4.4% positivity. In the US, 19.8%. That is almost 5 times as high as India. France, 41.8%, 9 times as high as India. Italy, 15.1%, almost 4 times as high as India. India, as we said, 4.4%. And then once again, there is something about this subcontinent. Once again, you can toss it and they say and say that maybe our doctors are useless, maybe our technicians are useless. It's not true. It's not true. I disagree with it. But I'm just saying that if you so wish, you can say so. But this low positivity is common to the entire subcontinent, which is independent of the number of tests you are conducting. So Pakistan is 9.54%, higher than India, but much lower than global averages. Bangladesh and Pakistan, by the way, as per million average of per million population, is testing at twice the rate of India. Bangladesh, 10%. Sri Lanka, almost the same as India, 5.1%. Once again, what is the reason? You figure out. Dr. Ganga Khedkar last week at his daily press conference at the Health Ministry turned these figures in another way. So, or diced them in another way. So he said we have to test 24 people in India to find one positive, and that has remained consistent. That's the reason ICMR says they still don't believe that this is a community spread. This is a cluster spread, but not a community spread. So 24 tested for one positive. In Japan, you get one positive for 11.7, he said. In Italy, you get one positive for 6.7. In the US, you get one positive for 5.3. In the UK, you get one positive for 3.4. And there are variations between nations. For example, if you look at Vietnam as the outlier at the other end, you get one positive with 496. So what is it? Is it the BCG? Is it hydroxychloroquine? Is it the weather? Because Vietnam weather is also tropical, hot, etc., etc. And then you can see other countries. Taiwan is 72, Russia is 62. So these are variations that might tell you some countries are doing something that others are not. And one thing, while the rest is speculation, it is also true that India has carried out the kind of lockdown no other country has. And India's people have been, you can call us all sheep, or you can say that we are disciplined. But we have been very compliant in this lockdown. Look at America. America's lockdown is not a fraction as drastic as India's, and yet people are coming out protesting in front of their governor's offices. And Donald Trump is instigating them. He's saying, liberate Michigan, liberate California. No such thing is happening in India. All states and the central government are working together. And I think that is pretty much true of other nations in the subcontinent as well. Maybe we are just a little bit more God-fearing, or maybe it's just a little bit when you are poor, you also tend to respect elements a bit more than if you are rich, arrogant, powerful. Whatever it is, there is a difference. Once again, if you look at Amitabh Kant's numbers, from the day India and Italy both discovered their first case, from that day to day 46, Italy was 1,300 times more than India. 1,300 times more. On day 40 of the discovery of the first patient, India and America had the same numbers. On day 65, America's numbers are 25% higher than India's. Once again, is it all to do with no science, a coincidence? I don't think so. What the reason is, I don't know. That wiser people have to find out. So these are the big changes, I think, and the big indications that we have to look at. Once again, remember, 180 crore people, nearly 22 to 23% of the world, with less than 25,000 cases and less than 1,000 dead between them, with a positivity rate, even if you average everything out, because other countries are much smaller than India. India is 138 crores, Pakistan is 21, Bangladesh is 17, Nepal maybe 3, Sri Lanka about 2. But even if you average it out with this many countries, this much population, less than 25,000 cases, less than 1,000 dead, and a positivity rate of less than 5%. That's where we stand. There has to be a reason. Now, some more data has come out, including data of deaths in India, which we will talk about in detail, but some of our reporters will cover it in detail later. But there is a point there that I want to flag to your attention, that 83% of India's deaths had what doctors call comorbidity, or which in simpler terms we would call pre-existing serious condition. Once again, in the case of Indians, this was more a cardiovascular condition. So if you have a heart issue, if you have a blood pressure issue, if you have a diabetes issue, then it makes your cardiovascular system weaker. And it is a kidney issue, because you find a lot of people in India, even the younger people who are dying because they had pre-existing kidney problems or liver problems. So there's an article in sciencemag.org which is really brilliantly written article. It's a great publication. It's so brilliantly written that you should read it instead of me trying to declutter it, because if I do that, either I will oversimplify it or I will make mistakes. So I'm giving you a link. Please read that. This article tells you that this virus is different from others. It gets into your body and it doesn't quite choose by itself what to attack and where to attack. All it does is keep multiplying itself at the cost of your body. And as it's multiplying itself and your body fights back, it's your immune system which gets angry and furious and frustrated and tired and gets so confused, like a soldier caught alone in the middle of many enemies and fearing everything and firing in all kinds of directions. So this virus turns your body's own immune system against itself. So what is called a cytokine storm, which is your body releasing cytokines to find this wretched virus. They look for the virus in every part of your body, and whichever part is the weakest gets caught first. Very often in the case of fellow Indians, it's the kidney. Very often it's the heart. So be very careful if you have any of those conditions: heart, cardiovascular disease, hypertension, diabetes, worst of all, a combination of all, which then often leads to kidney trouble or liver trouble for whatever reason. Stay indoors. That is the best thing to do. Also, if you also have age against you, because 75% of those dead in India are more than 60 years of age. Very important. So keep that in mind, and we will give you more details later. Now, before I conclude today, I will give you something about 2 studies which are being conducted. One study is about the most politicized and most polarizing drug in India, hydroxychloroquine. Politicized and polarized because, as I said, Donald Trump is prescribing it like a doctor, and Narendra Modi is now seen to be dispensing it to the world because India is the preeminent manufacturer. So then the drug gets caught up in that politics. On the drug also, there have been many conflicting reports. And as Siddharth Mukherjee, the famous immunologist in New York, said that research studies that have come out on this so far are quite crude, not convincing. Some have shown this to be very effective, some have shown this to be not effective at all. So one more study has now come out. This is bigger than the studies so far. Studies so far were 30 patients, 40 patients, 50 patients. This is 150. It's been put up on a non-peer-reviewed platform. It will be peer-reviewed. It has 23 co-authors, and the study says they all have contributed equally. They are drawn from 21 of China's topmost institutions. It's centered at Shanghai Jiaotong University School of Medicine. And they have studied patients pooled in from 16 centers in China, in the 3 provinces of China, that is Hubei, Henan and Anhui. So from those provinces, they have studied these patients, and the conclusion is that one, very important, hydroxychloroquine, and this is not a small study, it's 150 patients and it is double blind and randomized, which means some people are being given the drug, some are not being given the drug. So they found, very important, number one, that this drug does not reduce the viral load any more than any other treatment does. So this does not kill the virus, this does not stop the virus from replicating. Keep that in mind. Number two, again, even more important, this does improve the outcomes for patient. And why does it improve outcomes for patient? One, because it reduces the recovery time. And why may it be that it does reduce the recovery time? Because they said that it shows that the drug improves the number of white blood cells, corpuscles in your blood. And once again, if you read that Science Mag article, you will see that many people with corona struggle because their white blood cells number goes down in their bloodstream. So hydroxychloroquine increases the number of white blood cells. It also decreases 2 common inflammation markers, including something that most of us, at least at my age group, are familiar with, which is CRP. It's called C-reactive protein. In fact, when you have a full blood work, there is an entry for CRP also, and if it's high, then your doctor will tell you that, look, you have a tendency towards inflammation, be careful and do the following, etc., etc. So 2 inflammation markers, this drug brings down perceptibly. So the conclusion of the study is, and once again it's non-peer reviewed, these encouraging results suggest clinical benefits of adding hydroxychloroquine into standard management to limit inflammatory response, which is key to prevent systemic inflammation and subsequent multi-organ failure and death. So this may, by shortening the period of the treatment, protect you, and by improving your immunity, may protect you. And remember, this is what Dr. Ganga Khedkar said in his interview with my colleague Jyoti Malhotra, where he said that, look, we know that hydroxychloroquine cannot kill the virus. Nothing can kill a virus. Mankind has not yet invented anything like that, or humankind, I have to be correct. Number two, he said, we know that there is nothing in hydroxychloroquine that can interfere with the enzymes of the virus, so it cannot stop the virus from replicating. But we do know that hydroxychloroquine has some effects on your immunity. In fact, that's why it's used for autoimmune disease like lupus and rheumatoid arthritis. So the studies now are trying to see if this has an immunomodulatory effect. So once again, early days, but this study is much bigger than the previous ones, and this does indicate that this could have some immunomodulatory effect. In fact, again, the authors of the study say the shorter time to alleviate the symptoms might be useful for preventing disease progression, which is exactly what, if you read that sciencemag.org paper again, this is exactly what that is saying. Now, the second study is not yet a full study, but it is something that has started and it's quite interesting. So this is American company Gilead, which has a drug called remdesivir. It was designed to fight Ebola, then Ebola did not become that serious. The drug failed with Ebola also, but now it's been found in some anecdotal evidence to be useful with corona. So trials have started. In fact, market as usual overcorrects or gets overexcited. So the markets, the stock markets already are responding to Gilead by thinking that Gilead has a winner, it will go up, but don't go by what the markets say. Markets are often wrong. Wait for studies to come. So I am sharing with you a release that Gilead has made on their testing schedule. So first test of 53 severely ill patients on compassionate grounds started on April 10. This is a very unscientific experiment, very random. Findings will be very anecdotal. 53 patients, no control group, nothing. Next, again an open label trial, again with no control group, etc., of 400 severely ill patients will begin anytime now in April. So maybe later this week. Third open label again means no control group, no double blind, of 600 moderately ill patients will begin in late May. And then importantly, that will be the big part, NIH, National Institute of Health in America, will begin a double-blind, placebo-controlled trial of 800 in late May, about a month from now. And then the biggest one will come, that is a WHO Solidarity trial, which will be conducted in many countries of the world, including in India. So Indian scientific institutions will also be involved with that trial. That will have 10,000 people. And that will begin sometime in June. Now, when you see this statement from Gilead, you can see the color coding there. The deeper the color, that indicates how severely ill the patient is. So once again, keep track of this. We'll keep bringing you the latest. And finally, yet again, health warning. We are not doctors. Don't take our advice for any drugs. Check with your doctors, and do subscribe to our YouTube channel and like our Facebook page if you haven't already done so. And also please ask your friends, family, neighbors to do so as well.